Hello and welcome to First Seduction, then Deconstruction, where we partake in the pleasures of picture books and then we go back and we have a look at what makes them so wonderful so that we get to learn about how to write fantastic picture books ourselves. And it's really cool. So anyway, this is one of my former students and her name is Deborah Underwood. And it's a really fantastic book. It's a concept book, so that means it doesn't have a narrative arc, though sometimes concept books do have a narrative arc, but this one doesn't. But what this book does, what the concept is, it explores the idea of quiet and the many shapes and forms that quiet takes. And then at the same time, it lulls the child. It's for very young kids, and it lulls them into this like really kind of meditative, tranquil, beautiful place in the way that she goes through the different kinds of quiet. So let me encourage you to just settle down, get a nice cup of tea, and relax and just take a few minutes out of your busy day. It'll only be about 10 minutes total, and enjoy the quiet book with me. And then we'll go back to the other part of our brain, the critical, analytical thinking part, and have a look at exactly how she makes this book work so well. This book was a New York Times bestseller, and with good reason, as you'll see. And then the other thing I want to talk about at the end, and hopefully Marge, who's filming, will remind me if I forget, is anthropomorphizing, which is where you have animals substitute for people. And there's different thinking about that, and I want to talk about that a little, and the pros and cons. Okay, so here we have, a sweet kind of a pumpkin colored end sheets to hold the book together. Here's the half title. And it starts right here on page 3. So we've got half a full title. So they didn't have quite enough room to do an elegant full title, but it's still lovely. So here we go. Do you have it all in? There are many kinds of quiet. First one, awake quiet. Jelly slide down quiet. Don't scare the robin quiet. And I'm going to have to put glasses on for this. Or maybe not. Others telling secrets quiet. Colouring in the lines quiet. Thinking of a good reason you were drawing on the wall quiet. Hide and seek quiet. Last one to get picked up from school quiet. Swimming underwater quiet. Oh, it's got torn. Sorry, Deborah. Pretending you're invisible quiet. Lollipop quiet. First look at your new hairstyle quiet. Sleeping sister quiet. Right before you yell surprise quiet. Making a wish quiet. Top of the roller coaster quiet. Best friends don't need to talk quiet. Surprise visit from Aunt Chili quiet. Do iguanas bite quiet? Before the concert starts quiet. Trying not to hiccup quiet. First snowfall, quiet. Car ride at night, quiet. Oh, I'm going to have to lick my fingers and it looks so icky. Too many bubbles, quiet. Story time, quiet. Tucking in Teddy, quiet. Bedtime kiss, quiet. What? Flashlight, quiet. Sound asleep, quiet. So you can see how this book would really lull a child to sleep. The other things that are really wonderful about it is just how funny it is in parts. And also just how much, pretending you're invisible, quiet. How much kids can identify with both the language and the things that are going on. And it really is quite brilliant, and it's quite brilliant the amount of things that she manages to put in there. Thinking of a good reason you were drawing on the wall, quiet. And all kids can relate to being in trouble. So it's just a very, very relatable book. It's very clever in so many ways. On the surface, it's very simple. But it just lures kids in with this gorgeous, simple language of both adventures that they have, trouble that they get into, things that they go through in their regular lives. The whole hiccuping thing and just how embarrassing that is and how you desperately want to be quiet but you can't. And it's just really fun and just really lovely. I'm kind of crushed that it's gotten torn somehow. And that super quiet moment before you yell surprise. And the illustrations are absolutely adorable. And the illustrator used animals. I don't know if specified for animals, probably not. This is where the illustrator gets on their magic carpet and takes it for a ride. And I want to talk a little about anthropomorphizing. So there are two schools of thought on anthropomorphizing characters in children's picture books. One school thinks that it's a bad idea, that, animals are animals and should be depicted as animals, and that it does them a disservice by giving them human-like qualities. Whereas another school thinks that by including animals and anthropomorphizing them, that it helps children develop an empathy and love for animals. So I can see both, but I'm definitely more in the empathy camp. And by having animals instead of children or humans, what it does is it allows the narrator or the author to kill off all the adults. You don't have to if you've got children, real kids in a book, you've got to show some parents in there, or some caretaking adults somewhere. You can't just have kids without any adults. But when it's animals, you don't notice it. Animals are also incredibly endearing, and they are just it keeps opening at this one torn page. Animals are really endearing, and they're just way, way easier to illustrate because we don't notice the subtle differences in faces and size and things like that you will with illustrated kids. We're much more wired to recognize faces and to recognize, small variations in faces than we are in human faces than we are in animal faces. If a cat is black and white, that black and white, you can have a black and white cat that's a little skinnier, a little fatter, a eyes are bigger or smaller, little differentiations like that you're not going to notice. But if a kid is bigger or smaller, or eyes are bigger or smaller, or things like that, you're going to really notice those differences. Animals are kind of irresistible, and look at these illustrations. They're just absolutely adorable. And the illustrator, all she did was she drew them in pencil first, and then scanned them into Photoshop, and then put color on in Photoshop. And often you can find that kind of information on the second page, or on page 32. Though I don't know how I found that information out, but I did. Anyway, so fabulous, fabulous book for young children. I imagine at some point it will be made into a board book, if it isn't already being made into a board book. And I just want to say congratulations, Deborah, on a stunning piece of work. And I know she's got a bunch of other fabulous stuff coming up too, so I'll include her website and the illustrator Renata Liwska? I don't know how to pronounce it, sorry. Illustrated by Renata Liwska, and also beautifully done. So I hope you enjoyed today and learning a little about anthropomorphizing, learning about a really skillful concept book, and a little bit about how the illustration process worked. And one last thing I want to point out is just the very sophisticated muted colors and the use of white space. That's all. Thanks.